It's time to allow the life repeat. Step in the spotlight, grab a seat. Joy and wit with wisdom to share. Each video crafted with care. The Jen Hardy Show, oh yeah, it's here. Soak up the sun with glitter and cheer. Shower thoughts to make you think. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Engage with minds both young and old, in conversations wide and bold. From life's big questions to simple joys, we're here with insights, not just noise. The Jen Hardy Show, oh yeah, it's here. Soak up the sun with glitter and cheer. Shower thoughts to make you think. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. The Jen Hardy Show, oh yeah, it's here. Soak up the sun with glitter and cheer. Shower thoughts to make you think. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited because we have Meg. Hello, Meg.
And Penny?
And who's with you?
Penny. Penny?
Penny. Oh, and this is
I
Libby.
thought you were... Oh, look.
So we've got...
It's like if we mixed you and Siggy, we would get a Libby.
We've all... So Dave is saying it says something different on the live. I don't know why. Oh, cast. It does say cast. Well, it's not a cast. It's a case. And apparently, I did not spell. So if you're here to see how a cast was solved, you will not be seeing it. All right. So
that's awesome.
Meg has got an extensive background in all the legal things, and it's really exciting. And so she takes her court watching very seriously and does it a little bit differently than a lot of the other people that I've met, which I think is fascinating. So there are so many things that we have to talk about, Meg. You want to start with, how did you decide to come to YouTube and start watching court?
I was having a really bad MS flare, and I was stuck in bed for, oh gosh, I think it was almost like 2 months. Like I could barely walk. I couldn't do anything. I had to use my walker just to get to the bathroom. And I was watching, I had always watched law and crime and court TV since I was a kid. I remember watching the O.J. Simpson case in high school. And I just dated myself, didn't I? Law Talk with Mike auto plays one day. And of course I fell in love with Mike. You know, his adorable little giggle. And I noticed, like, I found the actual court channels from that. I'm like, oh my gosh, law and crime isn't all that's there. And I realized he's not like getting all this stuff out there. There's so much he's missing. And everybody's like, well, start your own channel. I'm like, I can't do that. And they're like, just try what happens. And it took a lot, because that's not my personality to put myself out there like that. But I wanted to put the content out there because there was so much valuable information that was just getting lost at the end of the day when it was getting deleted. So that's where we kind of started. It was just kind of like a, let me pick up their scraps and guys.
That's interesting. And you know, you are frozen. Oh no, you're back. I think I don't want to make this about a health thing. And if you're watching, I know it can get depressing when people talk health. But I just want to say the reason that I started in the creative space was also because of health issues. And I want to point out the positive in it, that if you have something going on with your health and you are stuck in bed, or you're stuck not being able to do whatever, there are a lot of things you can do that are positive, that can impact the world. And so I just want to point out your thing. Like, I don't need to talk about my thing. It's a very similar story, but in a different space. But I think it's really important to note, because it's really easy to just get really depressed and wallow, which, not that we don't on occasion, but it's really great to see that no matter, because MS is rough. It's a rough thing, and it just gets you, it gets you something to do, which while you're going through that, which I think is.
I was really surprised at the number of people in this community who have debilitating health conditions. I mean, from every side of the spectrum. And so it actually was so beneficial to me, and it helped me through a very rough time in my life to have this community kind of come together and really embrace everything, each other on a personal level, watching the court and learning and doing these things that we enjoy together. But there was that support that I never in a million years expected, because there was that connection to an understanding of each other, I think, in a
Yeah.
different sphere.
Right. And it's so important because you need that. And I
Yeah.
have to tell you, okay, I have a funny story about that because I used to be a lot less well than I am today, which makes no sense, but it is. And I have a hospital table next to my bed that I've had for like the last 10 years. And so when I started podcasting, I had my broom arm and my computer and a camera all set up on it. Well, it was normal to me, but the cleaning lady came and thought we had some kind of real weird thing. She wouldn't come back. So I'm like, it's a podcast. That's all it is. And she's like, mm-hmm. Anyway, all right. So speaking of strange stories, we have a fascinating story. Meg does. I listened and Dave, I'm going to task you with going to Meg's channel and putting the link to the cold case story in the chat. So you have time to do that. But if you could start out, how did you come across this and what made you want to look into it?
It was years ago, I think. Gosh, I don't know. I've done this. No, I can't. That's too much. I have, as long as I could remember, just researched cold cases and things like that. Never really to any outcome much, but more just, I want to know more about the circumstances that happened, because it really blows my mind that so many of these people aren't reported missing until so many years later and things like that. Or they have these unidentified people who have been unidentified. Why are they unidentified? Why isn't somebody looking for them? And so there was this case. Florida has a lot of cases. And there was this one case where there was a quilt associated with it. And this quilt had this really cool pineapple damask pattern, which it just was so familiar to me, but yet it wasn't. And I like when I can specific. And so every so often it would pop up in the, list of missing people. And I would just start searching this pattern. And I spent so many hours through the years, and I'm talking like the past 10 years at least, I've randomly searched this pattern just periodically, randomly, when it would cross my mind. And I've never found it. And it would make me mad because I'm not used to not finding things. They're there. The internet has everything. You just have to know where to go to get it. And this was not there. And that was just not okay. So yeah, it was that really got me invested in it. And then one day I was scrolling through the Florida news, because I got to keep up with the Florida man news. I'm sorry, I keep shifting. My camera is in a weird spot and it doesn't line up with my normal chair spot. I have to either move my chair spot or the camera. Oh, we're just a hot mess, but my studio will be done in a couple weeks, maybe.
Very nice.
Even.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. Anyways, what was the question? My ADD meds have worn off long
That's
ago.
okay. So how you decided to go after this particular case?
Oh, yes. It was in the Florida news. Like they said, missing person case solved. So of course I have to click on, there's the quilt. And I'm like, oh, we know who she is. This is amazing. And all it did was pretty much say like her name and where she was from. And I'm like, that's not enough information. What about the quilt? So I started Googling, and the first place I usually go is Ancestry, because my background of research is in genealogy. So I always start with building a family tree, because that kind of gives me the dates and times and locations I research. And I found this record that you always find stuff that's not right. I mean, there's always people with similar names. There's always things that look like, oh, that should be right, but it's not right. And you just brush it aside and you move on. And it just kept coming back and it kept coming back and it was driving me crazy. And I'm like, I don't want you, go away. And it wouldn't. And finally, I looked into it and I'm like, well, maybe. And I looked into it some more and I looked into it some more. And I'm like, holy crap, I think this is really her. And it took me a couple days of really, like, that's all I did for 2 days was focus on this case. And I'm like, this is. And then I looked up the guy that she had married and he was a murderer. And I I haven't revealed this yet because I'm still working on part 2, putting it together. But he was convicted of murdering a 13-year-old girl in Illinois in the 70s, which would have been, it was after her body was found. And then he was locked up in prison there for, eternity. And in 2011, 2013, he was convicted in Pinellas County, Florida, for a murder that had taken place in 1971. So it was right before he met and married her. It just was absolutely unbelievable. And there are undoubtedly more victims. But this guy was just an absolute garbage human being, like absolute. Yes, exactly. That's what he was.
That's Libby, by the way. Libby's.
I heard her. Just, I mean, absolute. So that kind of sparked me some too. Is okay. Can there be more? Can we find the more? So I haven't given it up yet.
So tracking him down, like seeing what he's done. Yeah.
Researching it. I've read a lot of the case information and stuff that's gone on, and it's just horrific what he did to these young girls.
And it was a teenager that found the girl, the 50-year-old, the case.
Yeah, it was a young boy, and he was riding his motorcycle around, and it was really in the middle of nowhere, but it was right off the interstate that had just been built, and it was in a motorcycle, like kind of like the sandy wooded area, but not a lot of trees where they can just go. And the motorcycles were just all over back there. And because it was a nature preserve right on the edge of the Withlacoochee State Forest, which then runs into another state forest. And there's just like this huge, just green area in the middle of the state. And that's what it all starts as. And boy was riding it. He sees a blanket and walks over to it and, kind of peels it back. And there's a body that had been there for multiple days. I can't imagine. The detective said he had reached out to the boy, that he's an adult now again, and talked to him. And he's still, yeah, a little shook up over it. But one of the biggest things I took from her specifically is, one, she had her first marriage was incredibly abusive. And she tried to leave, and he tried to take her kids away from her. He tried to get her parental rights terminated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just because she didn't want to be abused anymore. I mean, and somehow she ended up in Florida. And no matter how hard we tried, we could not figure out how she ended up in Florida. So we have no idea how she met this serial killer. Like, was she hitchhiking down I-75 and he picked her up? Was she working down here somewhere and they met? Was it, we have no idea how they met, but a couple months after he murdered the young girl over in he picked her up in Town and Country, which is kind of northwest Tampa suburb, and he dumped her body about, I think, about 10 miles west in some orange groves over in Pinellas County.
So it almost seems if they were off major roads, maybe he was picking up hitchhikers. I know back in the 70s that was a
No,
thing.
he was. That was how she got Gina. Her name's Gina Marie Justy. Sweet young girl. She left her house to go look at some puppies a couple miles down the street. At a guy was giving away puppies and she wanted to go see them. And she walked down Hillsborough Avenue, which pretty decent sized road. Now it's a massive road. I'm sure it was decent sized back then because it was the main thoroughfare. And up as a hitchhiker. Now the other girl, I don't know exactly how he ended up getting her. He was at a bar and there was a woman there with some friends, and he followed them to another town, was partying with them, propositioned the woman. She turned him down. And then he ended up abducting her. Now, the babysitter left early in the morning and walked home. So, I mean, you're assuming he followed her home again. But there's no details on how exactly he got the babysitter.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that was the thing that was kind of hard for us to, when we were talking about it. The two that he was convicted of were, I think one was 15 and one was 13.
Oh, wow.
But then his wife is, oh gosh, how old was she at the time? 30, 40 years old. So it doesn't really fit his MO. But then the detective spoke to some former spouses, and this seemed to be the assaultive behavior seemed to be a trend. He had four wives, and that was in a 13-year period. Well, actually less than that. That was in a 10-year period. He had four wives because he went to the military and he got kicked out of the military for breaking the law in Germany.
Wow.
But so what I did was I wanted to reach out to the detective, but he didn't have an email address published anywhere. And I'm like, really? Like, who doesn't have an email? He's like a phone call kind of guy. He's like a in-person kind of guy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see you face to face. I want to send you an email because I'm probably wrong. And I usually don't send information to law enforcement that I find, because what I find is very easily accessible. And I assume, okay, if I can find it, they can find it. So this has kind of opened my eyes to, okay, maybe I need to be a little less discriminatory in what I'm looking at and what I'm sending them, because we were all pretty shocked, right? We were all pretty shocked that they didn't have this information. So they use a lab called Othram, which I'm not sure if you've heard of them or not. Pretty much everybody in the true crime community has heard of them. They are the leading lab in DNA analysis and forensic. I'm not sure what the right word is, but they're doing the genetic genealogy analysis. And when you have something very, very like a bone that's 50 years old or even more, or has been through a fire or things like that, they're the ones that can extract the DNA from it. It's they're leading the industry along with Parabon, but they're well beyond. So they had a DNA analysis done on her. They dug her up in 2015, had a facial reconstruction done where they draw the picture, the drawing, computer image, and then they did a clay bust of, I think that was the original one, which is amazing how much they look like her. It's so blows my mind. And then they extracted the DNA, they sent it out, but all they could do back then was kind of just like a basic analysis, like an isotope analysis. So they're like, okay, well, she's from the US, she South, she probably lived in Florida for a couple years, which they determined that based on the nutrient content in her body, that she probably consumed a diet consistent with what people in Florida usually eat compared to other states. It's so bizarre that they can do this. And that was as far as they could go. So now that this genetic genealogy has become such a thing, the detective went back to Othram and said, hey, can you do this? So they did a whole family tree. This is who she is. They connected her with, I think, her son that's still living. And they went to him. They got his DNA sample. They compared it. Okay, yep, that's a match. We're good to go. And then they stopped. And there was really no reason for them to go further into the future because they identified her. So they missed this marriage just a couple years before she, well, gosh, eight months before she was found deceased, because they weren't even looking for that. So it was kind of a, why didn't you find this? Well, kind of thing. But it was kind of cool that I stumbled upon it because I was able to speed things up. The detective eventually, but the amount of time it takes to go through this information, because a lot of it isn't cataloged or indexed or anything else. You just, one of the newspaper articles on this guy, his name's Jerry. They have him listed as Terry.
Oh,
So
that's so good.
Searching his name, you would never find this newspaper article. So you would never know this one of his criminal, whatever happened.
Wow.
So you have to search 10 different ways with all these different variables in there and go through thousands upon thousands of pages of things to find that odd thing that shouldn't be the way it is. And I mean, that's just one example. There's so many different.
Right. So they found out the girl's identity after almost 50 years, right? Mm-hmm. But they didn't put her together with the person who had done it.
No.
And that was you.
Mm-hmm.
They
were actually looking at the time she was found, there was a young girl that was murdered in Florida. And it was huge news. And everybody was on edge because this is just small town Florida, very rural country. It's the type of Florida that most people don't know exists unless you've lived here, type of Florida. And they never looked beyond that because they actually had witnesses coming forward backing this up. Oh, I saw it, this truck, and it went in there with 3 people and it came out with just, and it was people feeding into the hysteria of this young girl's story. And they were giving, oh, thank you, Jay. They were giving the officers, solid leads to go on. Oh, I think she's part of that hippie cult that, kidnapped that girl. And I saw her staying in the motel. She hitchhiked into town. And so they have all the random circumstantial information in the file. And when the detectives picked it back up, they were still working on this, but they didn't have a lot to go on because all of the boys that murdered this young girl had suffered very tragic deaths in jail over the years. So when I brought this to him, he first dismissed it like I did. And then he started taking it a little bit seriously, went through it a bit. And then he said to me, I've never dealt with one of you web sleuth people before, but you know, I'll give you a shot.
Wow. That is so incredible. And then did they find out for sure that he did do it?
Well, how do you prove 50 years ago? But we've been able to prove that it was her that married him. We've been able to prove that right after her body was found, he took off back up north after living in Tampa for a couple years. We've been able to prove that he omitted any mention of her anywhere further down the road. He acts like she doesn't exist. He'll talk about his previous spouses, but he's never mentioned her anywhere to anyone. And even his family doesn't know that she existed. So we also know that they were right in the same area, like within a mile of each other, living on Nebraska Avenue.
Wow.
And he is a piece of trash. So what are the chances that somebody else killed the garbage guy's wife? You know, she was also killed in the exact same manner as the other two, with the same, they were all wrapped in blankets. They were all beaten in the head. They were all, the younger girls were assaulted.
Wow. So there were many. How many that people know of?
Just, he was only convicted of the two. There actually was a third in Tampa. Do you remember? Well, you probably don't remember before both of our times, but the diners, they used to have bathrooms outside, small diners where they just had the counters, and it would have a bathroom outside like a gas station does. And there was a young girl, I think she was like 16 or so, was there with her boyfriend. She goes to go outside to the bathroom, and he grabs her, throws her in the back of his car, threatens her with a knife, and essays her right there in the parking lot. Somehow she manages to get away miraculously, but they fit. And this is right after he got married to Joyce. So they go to court, charge him with it, and he's acquitted somehow. Unfortunately, they don't keep records for people who are acquitted on murder charges for 50 years. So that's what I always say, like, future generations are going to be at such an advantage, like records wise, history wise, because so much of what I'm looking for has been destroyed. Like the transcripts of the court records are destroyed, but there's pieces of them here and there. The appeals there, but not the original court records, because they ran out of space to store it. So they just started purging it.
Wow.
Looking back, I'm like, put it on a thumb drive.
Right? So is he still alive at this time or no?
No, he was convicted in 2013 in Tampa. And the detective, or in Pinellas County, I'm sorry, it wasn't Tampa, because he abducted Gina Marie in Tampa, then dumped her body in Pinellas, right across the border in Palm Harbor. So the case was a Pinellas County case. So the detective in Pinellas County at the time went and talked to him and said, I know there's more. And he kind of gave the impression that there was, but he's a creep. So, and he was saying he's not going to tell them anything until the death penalty was taken off the table. Well, at some point, the death penalty was taken off the table. He was given a plea deal. He changed his plea, pled guilty to years or something like that. He was already never going to get out of prison in Illinois. So whatever they did in Florida, the only thing they could do to him that would change anything was the death penalty. And while I would love to see him in Old Sparky, that didn't happen. So the detective goes back to him after everything's done and says, okay, well, the death penalty was taken off the table. Let's talk. He had a couple choice 4-letter words for him and said, and they never got any more information from him.
Wow.
So they sent him back up to Illinois, and then about a year and a half later, he croaked.
Wow. So how did people find out about this, and how did you get an award? Because I think that is so exciting.
The detective on the case commended me for it.
That is so neat.
Nobody really found out about it locally or anything, or in that area. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't share it with anybody. It was just kind of an off the wall thing that happened. In my mind, it was a fluke that I even found it. I made a video about it because it's interesting, but it's not this. It was complete coincidence that I found it. And
well, I don't know. I mean, you were looking. I feel like you look at so many of these things. I think it's really neat that somebody recognized the fact that you're working really hard. And this is not a paid job. This is just something that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's fun for me. I love research. I love looking at things. And when you put together the family chart, pulling all these records and looking at this, you basically you get insight into all these people's lives. It's like you learned so much about this family and group of people that you would know nothing about and have no connection to, but you get attached to them. And it's, I don't know.
So do you do a board with the pins? Because that's what I picture with the strings and the pins.
I would love to. No, honestly, and I don't really even keep notes. I used to have an amazing memory, so I would just keep everything in my head and have it all. It's getting a little harder to do that. So I do have a couple apps that I use that are really great for keeping notes and separating them out and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But
yeah, no big chart on the wall.
No.
So one of my friends who has been very interested in this, she has waited and waited for you to come on.
Aww.
She wants to know how to get in touch, and then you don't have to say this online, but for later, before I forget, she wants to know how to get in touch with a detective because she's been trying to get in touch with one of those detectives in that particular case. So maybe I can hook you guys up later and you can talk. Hello, American Courts, and Emily and Jay and Brooklyn Mom and Dave and everybody who's here. I appreciate you all, and thank you for joining us. It's different because we've got one of our own people talking about something completely different, which is really exciting. Okay, let's see. So much crime. Oh, and Scientology, is that in Tampa?
Oh yeah.
Is that where their headquarters thing is?
Their headquarters is in Clearwater. If you want Scientology, it's all over the news right now because the band Linkin Park replaced their singer after their lead singer took his own life a couple years ago, which was absolutely tragic. And the girl they replaced him with, it was a young girl. Her parents are in the Sea Org, which is the top.
Yeah.
And she is heavy in science. And there's pictures of her supporting Danny Masterson in court. Well, the singer
Wow.
that's deceased was good friends with the husband of one of Danny Masterson's victims. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole, Google that one.
There you go. All right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I did the whole Scientology rabbit hole thing a couple of years ago and spent a few weeks on it, and that was enough. It is a interesting thing.
I'm scared to even say the word. I had a neighbor
Yeah.
left, and he would come over and have me check my security cameras every couple days because people would be stalking him, harassing him, breaking into his house. It was scary.
Yeah. It's a thing. All right.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
Florida thing, apparently. Florida and California, and like that's it.
California. Oh yeah, because that's where I'm from, Los Angeles, and they have this huge thing out there. It's a big, yeah. And anybody that makes anything in Hollywood, they encourage to join them. All right. So, Meg, what else do you do besides court things?
Lately, nothing. I have my crafty stuff, but I've trying to keep up with this channel. I've been having to work pretty much from the moment I wake up until I go to bed. Just made a comment about her memory being shot, and it made me laugh because my memory has been horrible lately. Like I'll put a pot of water on the stove and I'll walk away and I'll order Uber Eats for dinner, completely forgetting that I'm cooking dinner. It's been really bad. My short-term memory is nothing, but my long-term memory is okay. I can remember these stuff for, an extended period of time. So it's a mess.
I can sing all the songs and the ditties from commercials from the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't remember what I did yesterday. So that's a whole thing.
Absolutely.
But I think also, I feel like YouTube is it's great, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of time.
It is. It is. And I thought after a year and a half of, 24/7 work that I would have put in, enough to just breathe a little. And yeah, it's worse now than it was before. Like, wow. But I spend a lot of time with the dogs. We go swimming every couple days, probably every other day. And I'm doing a lot of remodeling and stuff around the house, like not really remodeling as much as like you're broken, but that takes a lot of time. So, and my crafty stuff, my half-finished crochet projects.
Love it.
And what's this? These are my turtles. Let me see one that's not broken. We're making keychains. My brother and my nephew came over for craft day, so we were making crafts the other day. It was a lot of fun.
See, I like it too. It's very cathartic. Also, for 1 second, Dave just gifted memberships, and I want to point out that the third Thursday is going to be my one members day in the month because adding more lives is a thing that I cannot do right now. But we are going to have some pretty incredible giveaways on the third Thursday, like things like Amazon gift cards and Starbucks things. Like we're going big because I think I'm going to hit 1 million views around that time. And so that's exciting. So YouTube doesn't celebrate it, but we're celebrating it. So if you have a membership, make sure you put it on your calendar to be here on the third Thursday because you never know who's going to show up. It's going to be, I think so. It's going to be fun. Yeah. This was not my thought. I'm a podcaster. I didn't realize this is where we were going and we've gone here. So we're going to just enjoy the heck of it. So anyway, that's a little plug for my own thing.
I hate the video thing. I got to get dressed. Got to put a bra on. Oh,
it's a whole thing.
It's the worst part of my day.
I have to say, I've been enjoying it, getting myself together. I have, It's a whole thing. I made a video about where I was in April and where I am now. Like, yeah, I think it's good, but
It is. Gets me out of my pajamas, you know.
right. Well, or on the top hat, I don't know. I lead a meeting every month for Podfest, and I always have people show us what they're wearing because a lot of times it's pajamas. Today it's not, but yeah.
You
Feel like-
you must watch the DUI princess video I have. About 3/4 of the way through, the attorney pushes back from his desk and spins around to his bookcase, and he's wearing his plaid boxer shorts and a suit jacket and a suit top.
That's hysterical.
It was great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dave.
Yes.
Yeah. You men have no idea. You know, you just
It's
run your
rough,
fingers
man.
through your hair or not if you don't have hair, and you're done. You're ready for the camera. We are not. That
That's
is
why
not
I
how
dyed my hair. So, you know, even if it's messy, it still looks cool.
Okay, I have to say, yeah, this whole thing with the messy bun and all that coming out, like that. And not everything not having to match anymore, also very nice.
Yeah,
Very
loving it.
nice.
It's
Yeah.
it's cool to be funky. And Brooklyn Mom, you are correct. I spend all of my time editing or researching. And I'm researching, sometimes it hits a dead end and you have to throw all that work away. And it's like, okay, well, I just did all that for nothing. Oops.
Yeah. Oh, Jay. Oh, I can't make it. What's going on? Oh, there we go. That's funny.
I wonder if he saw that. So, real quick note, I did a video the other day before yesterday, just a random one I happened to catch about a dog sitter that didn't watch the dog, let the dog poop all over the floor, and really sad. And the owner of the dog reached out to me, and he hooked up through the site Rover. And I had never heard of this before, but I guess it's like a dog sitting connector site. And she's trying to get the woman taken off that site because she was so horrible to her dog. And they refused to do it. And she is like 5 stars, the #1 rated dog sitter in this area. And so
That's weird.
I need some ideas to figure out what to do to bring some awareness to this, because that is absolutely ridiculous. She sent me pictures of her house. Oh my gosh, if that happened to my house, I would Uber for dog walkers. Yes, exactly. Except for they don't take it. She was supposed to be like staying at her house. She used her blender. There was like this blueberry concoction everywhere. There was literally dog poop all over the floor, and the dog was not supposed to be like. There was like doggy gates and stuff. It was unreal.
Wow. Did it get fed? Like fed and watered, the dog?
I hope so. Like that wasn't really discussed. I could ask her. But in the site, it's like, nah, sorry, we can't do anything about it. Exactly. So we got to figure out what to do. We might need to start a campaign to get her shut down.
Right?
Because I know we're all animal lovers, so I just had to share that real quick. It's as frustrating as YouTube is sometimes. I have had so many people that have appeared in the videos reach out to me to say, wow, thank you for bringing light to this. Thank you for, helping me show this. And so it's been really rewarding in that regard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's amazing. And there's something about YouTube too that's not what it's like in podcasting. And that's my favorite thing, honestly, about YouTube is that we can interact with people. Like right now with the live, we get to talk to everybody. We get to hear from everybody. If they like something, if they don't like something. Podcasting, it's like a ghost town because there isn't this place for them to do it. And even if we say all you have to do is click the link, there's no link clicking. And I don't know if it's because they're less savvy with, I don't know, but it's very nice. And I love everybody here because it's really nice.
I think once I get a studio where I have like that safe space here, it's like behind me, you never know what kind of chaos is going on back there.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you definitely need the space. So, and I heard an interesting thing and about people being very careful about giving negative reviews because there was a small business owner, like a mom, right? She started a business. She made like 50 or 100,000, like enough to support her children. And that was it. She was a single mom. And then one influencer gave her a scathing review and her whole business shut down. And so I think that's something that we do have to be careful because people have power that they didn't used to have with things like that. But for
Mhm.
something like this, yeah, they
There's
definitely need that.
documentation.
Especially if they're getting 5-star reviews, that those are lies anyway. So somehow they're buying bots or something that are going in there and,
But she may be good sometimes and bad sometimes. I don't know.
but
And
I
she
feel
brought
like
her
you lose.
support person with her. She has a support person. I said, well, maybe if she had a support animal instead of a support person, she would know how to take care of them better. Sorry, that was probably
That's just,
rude, but without telling anybody. Like, if you have a disability, I am totally fine with that, and we will accommodate you to know it. Communicate it ahead of time. Don't just assume that you can do whatever you want.
yeah.
It's funny, you were saying that the one influencer shut it down. I was listening to something as I was driving the other day, and the exact same thing happened, except another influencer saw that and called out the influencer who was wrong and totally got her shut down. So
Oh,
there
wow.
is a little bit of thing going on in that industry.
Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe she did. Yeah, but how does she know? I don't know. I feel like if you're willing to leave someone's home like that once, it's not once.
Well, she said she cleans up at the end. And what happened here is she just left and didn't come back for a couple days. And so they had cameras and a family member or something came and told her, "No, you're not coming, just leave." And that's when they saw how bad the house was. So maybe she would have cleaned it up at the end, but who does that?
Yeah, that's
I
still
don't
a
want
no.
my house to be a poop pit while I'm gone, and then you clean it up at the end.
No, we
And
did
it
have
was
friends
like
like
a little
that.
poop bomb went off. It was everywhere.
They didn't walk their dogs. They just let them go on the carpet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you cannot live in that though. That will make you ill. So don't do that. Don't do that. Take the minute, walk the dog, and also, yeah, Joe negatives will always turn, yeah, yeah. So, all right. So if you've got an idea how we can save these dogs from this lady, let us know. And and Meg, so for the people who didn't hear in the beginning, because we have a few new people, long story short, how did you figure out
I don't know how to do that.
who had committed the crime?
It was a record, a public record that showed up in an ancestry genealogy search for her that
Wow.
linked her to him, to the area where her body was found, and everything just started lining up. It took, so this was January when they released her identity, and within 2 days I found this record. It was the last couple days of January, and just on September 1st they confirmed it and did the press release confirming it. And I'm going to have the second part of the video out with all the details about him and all his other crimes, everything he's done, as well as the press release news conference Wednesday, I think.
Wow.
It's taking
Okay.
a lot longer than I thought it would to put together.
Sometimes that happens though. I feel like the ones I really
It's
care about, it's
information.
long.
It's just, you want to include everything because there's so much to it, but man, it takes a while.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody, could be American courts, about how there's so many more male YouTubers, than women YouTubers that make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is the deal? Because it feels pretty sexist to me. What's up with that? And he was saying, men think about a video, they put out the video. Women put out the video. Well, we think of a video and then we think about the video and then we edit it and then we think about it. And that's how I do it. And it does take so much longer. And maybe we're just not slower because we're not as good. It's just because we really
More critical of
over
ourselves.
what we're doing, yes, and our work. And then I started really looking at the different channels, and darn it if that's not true. The men's channel, like, I mean, this is a gross generalization. Please don't jump on me, anybody. But in general,
Oh, absolutely.
the guys are just putting stuff out there. And if it works, it works. And the women, you can tell, we're like carefully curating everything, which,
Well, and it also has to do with the fact that women are more cold cognitive, where we're looking this hot situation. We know that there's consequences. We know that if we screw up or if we break this rule or that rule, that we're going to be penalized by YouTube for our actions. Whereas the men are like, yeah, whatever. They're, if they catch me, they catch me. If not, whatever. So we're more conservative in our actions because we're thinking about, okay, well, the children, the family, the future. And the men are like, yeah, that it's just nature.
Yeah.
They're more fly by the seat of their pants.
Which is, it can be a really good thing. Like with Dave and I, he has great situational awareness. He can just jump on things as they happen, and that's great. And then when there's other things that really need fine tuning, then I can come through and fine tune it.
It's my problem. I don't have a Dave. Maybe I need a Dave. Is there another Dave out there anywhere? Maybe one with good health insurance?
It's funny because I told my kids, because we got married. I had 4 children. He had 1. We got married, now we have 2.
Oh, Brady Bunch?
Yeah. And I was like, he either really loves me or he's crazy. I don't know. One or the other. We'll figure out. And he did love me because it's been 16 years. But
Aww.
What was I going to say? There was a point to that. What were we were talking about something. But yeah, he's definitely, I used to tell my daughters, I'm like, you need to find yourselves a Dave. And they're like, that's so creepy. And I'm like, not my Dave. Somebody like him though, and yeah, there we go. Uh-oh, she's got some brothers.
Oh, let me know. I'm probably way too old, but hey.
If there's some good men out there, you gotta let the people know, man, because they're hard to find.
Oh my gosh. Do you for Florida?
What's that?
Is this your man or something like that? Where people post, is this your man? And other people comment, yeah, I've been going out with him and stuff, to make sure that men are not like two-timing you, because it's such a big problem.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I have not seen that. And also, I'm so glad I'm not out there in the dating pool. No, there will never be another like you. That's right. Okay, you know what? Roll on G. There you go.
Oh, truck driver's good. Like swing in for the day, fix a couple things around the house, and then.
And wind turbines, that's a good business. Oh, there you go.
Does that mean I get to move to Kansas, the 13th Judicial Circuit?
Oh, who's out there? Oh, what is her name?
Judge Webster, the fat Webster.
I love
Judge
her so
Ricky.
much. I don't know who that is. I don't know a lot of judges. I realized I have this very small group of judges that I know. It has not expanded. I need to expand my reach to learn some more people. So, okay. Let's just start with the first part of that sentence. Okay, no offense to Jack Baldini, who was on here last time, because he's a different kind of lawyer. I have to say, I know him personally. But
someone commented on a Facebook post the other day about how bad the economy is, and she's like, when I was young, my dad had 2 other families on the side. And, he made minimum wage and he was fine. How much times have changed, but it's been going on since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Some men are gonna
do
that.
And I have to say that some women, I warned my girls about guys, but I did not warn my boys about girls. And let me tell you what, my oldest son really struggled with the girls
Really?
because yeah, well, he's a good looking guy, and
Mm.
they would be all kinds of manipulative and do all kinds of
Oh,
things
yeah.
that I did not warn him about until it was too late.
Now, see,
So
they have all the emotional things and manipulation and all the mind games, but women don't cheat as much. They're so terrible at pulling it off.
yeah, he does. My son he does look like Jesus when he grows his hair out. The thing. He looks like a blue-eyed Jesus. It's hard to explain. Anyway,
Okay. I'll go
yeah,
with it.
it's funny. Okay, you got boys. My 12. Oh no, this is dangerous. So my 12-year-old too, and let me tell you what, that heartbreak was rough. That was rough, and I don't want to go through. I try to tell my kids, don't just wait till you get out of high school. Just try to wait till you get out of high school. It doesn't work because you can't help it when you have feelings. You know what I mean? But like, don't go looking. And yeah, man, he cried for days. It was so sad.
Poor
It was so sad.
baby.
I know.
Mine's a senior this year. I'm like 6 more months and I avoided
Boy or
it. I
girl?
avoided it. Boy.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I had my
There's a lot
girl
of,
first, so I've been through it all.
yeah. You know, I used to tell my kids, I grew up in LA in the 80s. There's nothing that you guys could do that I haven't done. Okay,
Oh,
no.
please.
No, no, no. Nope. Nope. I was very innocent apparently and did not realize what was happening. But also now there's a lot more things that are happening. And I
Oh,
no
there's
longer say anything weird.
so many new things they can do. Like, I don't even want to, I'm like, la, 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 la.
Yes.
I don't want to
Yes.
know.
Right? Roland G, I can't put that up there, but I think, you know what? That's right. I baby the heck out of them and let them be little kids as long as they can because, oh my goodness.
Because
Yeah.
when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
on their own and they've got their own family and they don't have time for you because they're busy and they have their own schedule.
Yeah. Or they live all over the world. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can't believe it's been almost an hour already.
Oh my gosh.
That is crazy. Well, this is very easy to talk to you. So this is awesome. Well, thank
That's
you
what,
everybody for coming and watching. And Dave, will you put that link for her channel one more time in the chat so everybody can go over there? If you're not subscribed to Meg, I feel like everybody here knows you, but if you're not, subscribe and check the video because it's fascinating. So it's in two parts. So the one that's there is going to give you the whole backstory, way more than you heard today, and it's going to set the whole thing up for what you heard today. And because when we planned on this, you know, things happen. Things they change. It's how it is. Yeah, so definitely go watch that. And then Wednesday, the new one comes out. Wednesday-ish. It'll be out by Friday. And we're all going to go check it
Wednesday-ish.
out.
You know, I can't keep a deadline to save my life these days, so
You know,
by
it
the,
is
by
what
the
it
end of the
is.
year, we'll get it. It is the only
Right?
thing I am working on, except for the other 12 things I'm working on.
There, see, that's the kind of thing I say. And I say, I'm just doing this. I'm just going to do this. I got to go grab something out of my email for it. And the next thing you know, I've read 5 more emails and responded, and I don't know what I was doing yet.
Oh, I'd made my way all the way to the kitchen, and I'm washing dishes by this point in time. It's
Yeah,
bad.
it's a thing. So, yeah, if you guys have hints on how to keep it, I don't know, keep us more focused, let us know. Focus is a thing.
Yes, it is. And for those of you who were had a question about the cases or whatever, you can always email me, meg@megscrimewatch.com. I am
Okay.
questions at any point in time.
Awesome. Dave, we put that in the chat, and then that'll be our last thing, and we'll get going. You are all amazing. Meg, you are fascinating, and I
Thank you
am so glad you came
so
on.
much. Thank you for
This
having
is
me.
so
It's been a
exciting.
blast.
You're
I
welcome,
was
and
nervous for
congratulations on
nothing.
the award. What's that?
I was nervous for nothing.
No, this is good. Yeah, just a, normal, everyday, talking about murder.
Chit chat.
You know,
Yeah. I do this all the time.
all right, there you go. Okay, and we got Meg's email address in there. Okay, so check it out. And this live will be up, and I will, yeah, you can watch it anytime. Share it with your friends, please. Let them see what's going on, and we'll talk to y'all soon. I love you. What is that?
Thank
Oh,
you all.
Thursday. You all have to come. Okay, I gotta make a couple announcements real quick. 7 o'clock Thursday, and then I'm going back to 9. 7 is not working. I don't like it. It can't happen. So 9 o'clock starting next week, but this Thursday I'm going to be live from an art studio. The
Ooh.
glitz and glam of art. She does like painting with a twist, but with glitter. So we're going to make some things to go in my studio because I'm going to be doing some vertical live streaming and I need some more things and we're going to do that together.
Awesome.
So it'll be fun, guys. You got to come. You got to join us. This woman is a hoot. Completely different than what today's discussion was. It's going to be good though. All right. Love you guys.
Too
Bye.
cool. Bye.